Predators, since its first introduction in 1987, has proved two things. One, these extraterrestrial hunters are extremely scary and cannot be taken down easily. And two, they are bound by a code of conduct. As weird as it may be, knowing that the Yautja follow a code of conduct called the Yautja Honor Code makes them a little less scary. The stress is on a little, because with a height of 7 feet and super high-tech alien technology, the Yautja can easily end us all. But what if Yautja chose not to follow the code of conduct? Then what? Well, today we will look into the killer Yautja, the ones who do not honor the Yautja code of conduct, and see what type of nightmare they end up with. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, let's begin. The evolution of the Yautja who tamed xenomorphs. The Yautja are an extraterrestrial species which are extremely strong, agile, and skilled combatants. They are a threat to humanity through and through, but they have an honor code. This honor code is why we see the predators behave the way they do. But if there is a rule, there will be rule breakers. In the predator world, if someone strays far, far away from the honor code of the Yautja, they are considered the bad blood. They are skilled Yautja who refuse to kill with honor. Usually, we see these Yautja being particularly sadistic, more mentally unstable, and overall a bigger danger than our general hunter-predators. Now, the Killers are one such bad blood clan. They are considered to be lawless by the Yautja society because of their reckless behavior. They were more focused on killing and less on the hunt, which is deplorable in the eyes of the hunter Yautja, who saw the hunt as a sacred ritual. So, there was a fight. Well, it was a war between the hunters and the Killers. It was assumed that the Killers lost the war and no longer exist, but that was far from the truth. Turns out the Killers survived and thrived, but this time they did it in space. The Killers used their training and went on raids, which left other colonies destroyed. While their skills made the Killers a far stronger opponent to face off against for most colonies, the Killers decided to up the stake. They got themselves some xenomorphs. Just like we train our dogs to do chores for us, they trained xenomorphs to do their bidding. But with what? Let's find out together. These Killers were heretics, and they were going on their merry yet destructive way of life until they targeted the wrong place. In the Alien vs. Predator 3 World War, we see the Killers in action. The Killers attack the bauxite mine of Chigusa Corps. This is a human settlement. The people in this colony initially assumed the ship to be of claim jumpers, but when the ship doors opened, the surprise they get is not welcomed at all. The Killers show up and let loose the xenomorphs they had on the humans, and soon enough, the colony didn't have any survivors left. The attack was recorded, and the Marine Corps decided to reach out to the only person they knew who would be able to help them out, Michiko Noguchi. Michiko Noguchi, at first, didn't want to hear anything the colonel had to say, but when she finally saw the video, she realized that the myth she learned while haunting the hunters was more than a myth. She was the first to identify these Yautja as the Killers, and she made it clear that this was a big threat. Once they all got together, we learned more about the Killers. Turns out, they have done worse. They destroyed a ship, Maccabee, with 90 men on board just because they could. They even killed and destroyed the team that was sent to investigate the mine. The stakes are rising and there's not much they can do, so Michiko decides to meet up with an old friend. She takes the Marine team and her team to Ryushi, the place where Michiko first met the hunters. With her life on the line, along with many others, Michiko gets out of the ship wearing the Predator gear. While it does make her look ridiculous in the eyes of a lot of people, Michiko now knows this Predator suit will come in handy in what she's about to do, and soon enough, we get a live demonstration of it. The moment Michiko steps down from the ship, a group of hunters show up. Under her orders, the soldiers don't shoot and watch as they see Michiko instantly beat and kill one of the hunters. By showing off her combat skills, she opened the grounds for negotiation. As Michiko knows, to take down the Bad Blood clan, she definitely needed the help of a true Yautja. The demonstration of force helped Michiko's plan, and soon she was in the nest of the Yautja, talking about the Killers. The Yautja were just about to tell them if they agreed to help them or not when a queen alien showed up. Together, the humans and the Yautja subdued the alien, which can be considered the deal effective because we soon see Michiko with the hunters aboard the ship heading to Capri. Both the species join their hands together and the deployment of the ships is as glorious as it could be. But then, things take a nosedive. The Killers have a jamming device that has cut off communications, but people were not ready for the other things this jamming device could do. The killers effectively turned everyone blind because the navigation, communications, and everything were jammed. These ships that were deployed are now driving blind. The xenomorphs attacked them, and while in solidarity, everybody saved each other to the best of their capabilities. There were quite a few casualties. Machiko felt helpless because the only way Marines were communicating was via Morse code, something she didn't know. If she did not know the commands exchanged between the Marines, she was of no help as the interpreter between the Marines and the Yautja. Things were terrible, but Ellis, Machiko's right-hand man, was not going to sit there and watch this happen. He decided to make an electroscope to take out the jammer of the killers. Using the warhead aboard, he made an electroscope, which he then fired onto the killer's base on Capri. It worked and everyone was back online, making this war a lot more interesting. However, this rejoicing lasted only for a while because the ammunition was running out. Still, with whatever ammunition they had, the group of troops of the killers were defeated, and they decided to take a retreat. The Marines were not very happy with that because they thought they would stop the killers, but it turns out their plan was greater. The hunters were on a mission of eradication, and they had hoped that the killers would leave this way. When the ship of killers escaped the planet's surface, a hunter ship followed behind to put a tracker. This was a vital mission, even though it was suicidal in nature. As the story unfolds, the hunter ship gets taken out in no time, but the tracker is on it. With that, the crew chases the killers to their home planet. Mission accomplished. But the Marines also had a part of their plans met. Turns out, Sarita took off one of the killers' gauntlets. On running tests, they figured out how the killers are able to control the aliens, and the answer is synthetic pheromones. Each canister full of pheromones for different commands shows how the killers got the aliens under their control. With this in mind, the destination was now the killers' home planet. Once on their home planet, things, however, were not easy. The killers were seemingly ready for the ambush, and Sarita, the synthetic member of Noguchi's team who went on the ground, got captured. Because he's synthetic in nature, he's an object of curiosity, and he's being dragged away. Sarita gets the opportunity to do internal repairs enough to send a message to Noguchi and Ellis. Sarita figured out about the pheromones, but he also found something else. He saw that the killers had stockpiled a bunch of alien eggs for the next one they were going to raise. But the eggs do not have a queen. Sarita realized that if there was a queen, then the queen's pheromones would neutralize the synthetic pheromones, and that would, in turn, work in favor of the Marine and the Yautja. Noguchi agreed to that plan, and she accordingly told the Yautja what she needed. While it took her a while to convince the leader, it was accepted by the leader. Soon enough, Noguchi was on a dropship with the queen. The initial plan was that Noguchi would be dropped off at Ellis's coordinates, but when she saw the Yautja direct the ship away, she realized what was happening. Previously, when the jammer had blocked off everything and every ship was on its own, Noguchi didn't flee at the sign of danger. She said she would go face the danger for the sake of glory. Yautja respected her for it, and they decided to take her to the killer's base because of glory. As they reached the base, the queen was set free, and soon enough, the aliens were no longer listening to the killers. They had a queen to follow. On top of that, all target missiles that were planned to be released finally made their way to the killer's base. This again was very good for the Marines because they were not going to lose the war, but it was not good for Noguchi as she was stuck with the Yautja, fighting off the aliens who were making their way towards her. Ellis, Noguchi's partner, and like most partners, know that he has to show up for her. So despite Noguchi telling Ellis not to follow her, Ellis did, and he showed up at the right moment. The arrival of Ellis put Noguchi at a crossroads. On one hand, she could choose humanity. She could live, and she could be happy with her crew. Or she could be glorious and die a warrior. Given the life of Noguchi has had so far, Noguchi was not sure what she should choose. We can see her struggling to decide, as she looks back and forth between the herd of aliens who are swarming up on her and the ship with her crewmates. Her nervousness is palpable. That is when the leader of the hunters reaches out and takes her sword. For a second, Noguchi wonders if he would plunge the blade inside her. She wonders if she will die from her own blade, but the hunter uses it to shoot an alien. Then, with acid-coated blade, he burns away the scar that Broken Tusk gave Noguchi on her forehead. Broken Tusk's scar is what gave her the strength to face hunters after so long, because that scar made her one of them. With that gone, she was no one except a puny human, with the Predator's disdain as her punishment. Noguchi boarded her cruise ship and made her escape from chaos. The war was considered to have ended, and for the hunters, Noguchi knew it was a mission accomplished, but she couldn't say the same about the Marine. Noguchi was held accountable for the loss of alien technology, and the fact that the mark given to her by Broken Tusk was now gone. She was no longer considered an equal to the hunters. On top of that, Sarita's information made it clear that there was another base for the killers, and they were probably raising an army there too. But as Noguchi says, it's not her problem. For Noguchi, this was her new beginning, and she definitely deserves it. Marvelous verdict. Killer Yautja are definitely far scarier than the hunters. These Yautja do not have a goal. They simply enjoy the act of killing. This sadism, paired with the technology that allowed them to control xenomorphs, makes the clan a very big threat to humanity. This particular arc cleverly depicts the change in dynamics when there's no code of conduct, and that is praiseworthy. Machiko's betrayal is beautifully done, and her prioritizing her peace is a beautiful conclusion to her character's growth. But this comic only leaves us with one question which we would love to ask you. How would humans have used xenomorphs had they had the ability to create pheromones like the killers? Do you think the Marines in the comics would have done anything different than the killers? Or do you think they would have become like the killers themselves? Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!